I've now had the Insta360 One X for the best part of 18 months. There have been several 360 cameras that have been released since then, but I still think that the Insta360 One X is the best 360 camera for beginners, and I want to tell you why. So let's get straight to it. My name is Rich, and this channel is dedicated to making 360 easier for everyone, so you can have more fun with your 360 camera. So if you haven't subscribed, please hit the subscribe button and click the bell so you're told straight away when I upload new videos. I have all three of the cameras that I'm going to touch on in this video, and even though now the Insta360 R is my main 360 camera, whenever I go back to using the Insta360 One X, there's always something very easy and satisfying about using it. And when I use it, I remember straight away why it was such an appealing camera in the first place. I think the key to the success of the One X, particularly for beginners, is the invisible selfie stick and the brilliant stitching. I remember clearly the first time I saw some footage from the One X, and I was blown away by this third-person perspective and floating camera look, and how the stick just disappeared when you saw your videos in the app. Of course, we know that the invisible selfie stick isn't actually invisible, and we know that this technique isn't exclusive to the One X, and other 360 cameras can do it as well. But I think that why this was such a key selling point to beginners was because it was so easy to achieve the invisible selfie stick look. You could have almost included guarantee, which said you can achieve these shots and the stick will be invisible. If you use the Insta360 One X with the Insta360 invisible selfie stick or any other appropriate selfie stick, you'd be able to get these mind-boggling, breathtaking, floating camera shots easily and effortlessly with no difficult editing and no difficult stitching. In my opinion, it was the #1 selling point of this camera, and if you combine this with the fact that the Insta360 One X offers really impressive stitching, so there's no attention drawn to a misshaped or a distorted hand, then it's no wonder that these shots were really mind-blowing. If you're watching this and you're new to 360, let me very quickly explain how the 360 camera works. A 360 camera captures the entire 360 image using two lenses, so it records two separate files and then brings them together and edits them into one seamless image. The stitching area of the image is around here in between the two lenses all the way around the camera. And the camera has a blind spot underneath, so when the selfie stick is mounted directly straight underneath the camera, it just can't be seen. The stitching of the images is made even more seamless due to the narrow body shape of the camera, which brings the two lenses even closer together, which makes it much easier for the stitching algorithm to create one seamless image. And this final stitched image is created automatically in the app. No other 360 camera has competed so far with this slim, narrow body. And this slim body design means that the Insta360 One X still has the best and most natural stitching out of all the most popular 360 cameras available today. Fast forward roughly a year from the launch of the Insta360 One X, and we've got the launch of the GoPro Max, shortly followed by the launch of the Insta360 R, which is the latest Insta360 camera. I'm not going to compare these cameras in this video, but it's important to highlight the differences in how the selfie stick is attached to the bottom of the camera in each of these cameras. So the mounts for these two cameras are designed differently, and they move. So when you attach your selfie stick, it isn't always fixed underneath the camera, and therefore it isn't always invisible. I've used the Insta360 R and the GoPro Max cameras a lot, and I've made the mistake several times of not setting the selfie stick up straight enough underneath the camera. Or I have set it up correctly and then it's just got knocked or misaligned. Don't get me wrong, it's not that the invisible selfie stick is difficult to set up by any means with these newer cameras and the different mounts. It's just that with the Insta360 One X, it was one factor that you just didn't even have to give any consideration. You just screwed the selfie stick in and the selfie stick was invisible. The 360 learning curve, in my opinion, is quite steep for beginners, and it's just one element that it would be great for them not to have to think about. I've seen a lot of 360 photos and videos with the Insta360 R and with the GoPro Max where the selfie stick isn't aligned properly and it just destroys the magic. With the Insta360 X, you could give the camera and the selfie stick to a complete beginner. You could tell them how to turn the camera on, how to set it to video, and how to start recording. But beyond that, you wouldn't even need to mention the selfie stick, and you would guarantee that they would get some awesome invisible selfie stick floating camera style shots really easily. With the Insta360 R and the GoPro Max, you would have to explain to somebody about the selfie stick. You'd have to say, here's the camera, make sure the selfie stick stays directly under the camera, make sure it stays straight, make sure you check that the selfie stick is still straight when you move from one location to another, make sure you don't knock it. You definitely couldn't hand these cameras to somebody and guarantee that the invisible selfie stick would stay invisible. You'd have to probably say, well, you will get some awesome shots with these cameras most of the time if the camera is set up correctly with the selfie stick. And that's just annoying. In fact, if they're a beginner and you gave them these cameras, you would almost guarantee that you would see the selfie stick in shot at some point. I've already touched briefly on the benefits of the narrow design of this camera, but let's look at that in a bit more detail. It is a sexy looking camera. I mean, look at it. I do love the design of it. So what are the other benefits of the slim narrow design? Well, the slim narrow design makes it very lightweight and very compact. So not only is it very easy to slip into a small bag or into your pocket, but it does have some other benefits as well. The weight of the Insta360 R and the GoPro Max can cause issues when you use it, say, on an extended selfie stick. The weight of the camera puts a lot more bend in the selfie stick, and at certain angles you do run the possibility of seeing the extended selfie stick in your shot. So you have to position the camera at a certain angle on the selfie stick. The Insta360 X is so slim and lightweight that you can attach it to an extended selfie stick and there's no impact at all on the invisibility. I experimented recently with a new bullet time shot that I called the bullet time jump that involved the invisible selfie stick and a bullet time handle being used at ground level. I had to use the X because the other cameras I had were too heavy for the mount and just made it move and fall over. You can also attach the X to longer extension arms on mounts, particularly helmet mounts, with less worry about the mount actually moving. And if you're cycling or skiing and you've got a long extension arm on your helmet, then it feels a lot safer when you've got a lighter camera on the end. I do want to give this video some balance, and of course there are some negatives about the X as well, and there are some reasons why you'd want to buy the R instead of the X. And I'll be making a video about that soon, so please hit the subscribe button and click the bell so you're told straight away when that's uploaded. But I'll just touch briefly on a few of the negatives here in this video. The tall, sleek design of the X, which has many benefits that we've talked about, also makes it really vulnerable. The camera can easily fall over if you stand it on its own, and it just feels like with this camera that it needs to be constantly cared for in case you damage it. There are no compact lens protectors, so the only way to protect the lenses and protect the body of the camera is with the venture case. And the venture case is bulky, ugly, and a pain to take on and off. The LCD screen is rubbish, it's too small, it's very difficult to see outside, and it's not a touchscreen. This camera isn't waterproof. Now for me, I don't really do any underwater filming, so it's only been a problem when it's started to rain and I've had to stop recording because I don't want the camera to get wet. But if you're a big water sports fan and you know you'll be recording in a wet environment, then you'll need to use the venture case to protect the camera. Or if you want to do some proper underwater filming, then you'll have to use the dive case. Going back to the positives, on top of all the benefits that we've already mentioned about this camera, one other major thing is that Insta360 over the last 18 months have constantly updated the firmware. They've added new features, they've updated existing features, and they've resolved a lot of issues, so they've created a solid, reliable unit. It's no surprise to me that we are still making video comparisons with this camera, and it just shows what an impression it made on us 18 months ago, and also what an impression it still makes on us today. If you've watched some of my previous videos, then you'll know that I really want an Insta360 X version 2. A camera that builds on the design and the strengths of the original Insta360 X rather than completely changing it. The Insta360 X will inevitably get left behind when customer demands change and technology advances, and we will one day stop making comparison videos with it. And that day is getting closer because Insta360 are continually developing and rapidly improving the Insta360 R camera with some really amazing features, and they're constantly improving the stitch line, improving the image quality. So how long the Insta360 X can hold on for, I don't know. What I do know is that until the Insta360 X is properly replaced with an updated model, that it will still be used as a benchmark when comparing new 360 cameras, and you're still going to see it in a lot of videos in the coming months. Let me know in the comments, how much do you still love your 1X, or are you new to 360 and you're considering buying a 1X as your first camera? You can watch these two videos next. Please give this video a thumbs up. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.